I'm doing this particular segment regarding the immigration roundup that they did over the weekend, and that roundup was a lot bigger than advertised, and in my opinion, a lot more people were swooped up than the government is letting us know. Now, Andrea Mitchell is going to interview the head of the Hispanic Black Caucus, and she is going to drop some information that I think is relevant. Now, be aware, when this went down, there were various groups in Congress. The Hispanic Black Caucus was asking questions. Even the Congressional Black Caucus was asking questions. They wanted the exact details on exactly what the policy was that the Immigration and Customs Enforcement people were utilizing in taking people into custody and deporting them at this moment. Okay, they got stonewalled. I stonewalled them. Homeland Security stonewalled them, and I think that the Congressional Black Caucus didn't push it as hard as they could have. But to the rescue, the Hispanic Black Caucus, this lady, she again was not letting this go, and a lot of people that they represent really obviously were upset, afraid, etc. So I'm going to play the segment that Andrea Mitchell had with her. Now, there was an interruption, so I'm going to have to pause it because bullshit. Anyway, there was a photo op for the president that interrupted the conversation that she had with the head of the Hispanic Black Caucus. So I'll pick it up after that, in my opinion, worthless photo op session took place.
In at least 6 states, including New York, North Carolina, Georgia, and California, over the weekend, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers arrested hundreds of undocumented immigrants over the past week.
Now, the government said it was like 120, and Andrea Mitchell is saying hundreds. So hundreds to me means at least 200, because hundreds is plural. And the person from the Hispanic caucus seems to indicate that it was a lot more than just a few hundred. Here we go.
ICE says that the operations were, quote, routine, and that they were targeting criminals. The leaders of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus have demanded an explanation. They want a meeting with the agency's acting director, now scheduled for tomorrow, to discuss whether people are being deported just because they came illegally in the first instance or because they've actually committed a violent crime. Joining me now is the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Congresswoman Michelle Lujan Grisham, and in California, Antonia Villaraigosa, the former mayor of LA. Welcome both. Congresswoman, you've gotten a meeting for tomorrow. What have you been told? I mean, you've been calling all weekend trying to get an explanation for what is happening in real time to real constituents.
I mean, basically, we were told, write a letter to Homeland Security and see if you can get further than calling us. I spoke on Thursday evening to the regional ICE director in the LA area, who gave me completely inconsistent information, not part of a national operation. First, inconsistency. Two, we're targeting 6 serious offenders, but he said they picked up 40 people, so who are the other 34? Turns out it was hundreds of people in the LA area. And so we couldn't get straight answers, and it's clear to me that it's now 11 states that we know of, that they are 11 states that have been impacted, and we're hearing from advocacy groups that it's higher than that, and there may even be issues in my own home state of New Mexico, and we're not clear about that. So tomorrow, we want all the facts. You show us, person by person, who was picked up and exactly what their criminal offense was.
And I want to apologize to you and to Mayor Vitt.
All right, this is where they got interrupted, so I'm going to pause it and pick it up when they pick them back up.
Lujan Grisham and Antonia Villaraigosa, the former mayor of LA. Let me just, on this subject, Congresswoman, point out that when the president swore in his 30 top officials, his White House assistants to the president, it was notable in that image in the East Room that day that you were looking at 30 people, maybe 3 of them were women, and that Justin Trudeau comes here with half of his cabinet are women. So there's a notable imbalance here between what President Trump has done so far, at least.
What he's saying and trying to demonstrate today, and what he's actually doing inside his cabinet in terms of making sure that we have gender leadership that's balanced and effective. I agree.
Let me bring in Mayor Villaraigosa. What are you hearing from LA? Because the Congresswoman referred to the fact that the ICE regional director in California, which covers New Mexico as well, presumably, misled her either knowingly or unknowingly about what was happening this weekend. What are you hearing?
Well, we're hearing the same thing. I've spoken to attorneys representing the Rapid Response Network that's working to represent these deportees. Upwards of 600 people across the country, many of them in Los Angeles and on the West Coast. A good portion of them not without a criminal record. This notion that all of these people are felons who have committed violent crimes just isn't bearing out in the facts, according to these attorneys. So there's a great deal of concern. There's a feeling like this, they're targeting these communities with the purpose of creating terror in these communities. And I think there's a great deal of concern about this.
Congresswoman, have you gotten any explanation as to what criminal background is the threshold? Because deportations I think there were 65,000 deportations at one point under President Obama. So they were deporting a lot of people also.
And the majority of those deportations, and this isn't a defense of the Obama administration, but they were largely at the border. And we're talking about ICE deportations where they're doing these raids. These are internal, right? That's in the interior. So they're going into neighborhoods and communities. That's a very different thing. And what they're saying is, which is I find troubling. So we've known about these serious offenders that were drug trafficking, human trafficking, sexual predators. So if you've known about those individuals, why are you waiting? If you've got 6, you've got 10 individuals that pose a serious threat, whether they are an undocumented individual or not, you ought to be doing your police work to make our community safe. Here's the difference. Obama had very specific priorities: serious felons, national security, and that's now been removed, tucked into the border, the wall across the border. Executive order was, look, we're going to go back to broad discretion. Basically, if you've got any reason to believe an individual may have committed a crime, you can pick that individual up. So you have collateral apprehensions. You go to a house, you're looking for a felon. Felon's not there. You say, let me see your papers. Causes hysteria and panic. I worry about kids left in the home. None of it makes sense. And it's then they need to rebut our presumption that based on the facts as we know them right now, this looks like a mass deportation effort, and it looks like it was coordinated across several states.
Congresswoman, thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Michelle Lujan Grisham. And
all right, I'm going to now buttress this video up against a video of what's going on the northern border. Give me a second. All right, in case you weren't aware of what's been going on our northern border, and that there is a rather significant number of refugees and people that are coming from various countries in the Middle East and Africa. There are a lot of people pouring across that Canadian border, and they're not coming from their side to our side. They're leaving our side and going to their side, and that includes refugees with children who are actually U.S. citizens born here. Anyway, here's this particular story. Check this out, and then combine the two so that you'll have a much firmer idea of exactly what's going on.
Canada has put out the welcome mat for refugees, but is now seeing a record number of refugees crossing the border from the U.S. Joining me now is Rita Chahal, Executive Director of the Manitoba Interfaith Immigration Council, one of the groups assisting refugees in Manitoba, Canada. Thank you very much for being with us. Tell me, the situation is with refugees. Do you have any understanding as to why they're coming? They're coming mainly from Minnesota? Are they Somali and other Muslim groups?
Well, they are coming through, crossing the Emerson-Manitoba border. Again, a variety of countries that they're coming from. Certainly a big one would be Somalia, Ghana, Djibouti, Burundi. They're coming, some of them have been in the U.S. for quite some time, and others who may have just recently landed. They're telling us that, you know, they're making the trek because they're fearful of their safety in their countries of origin. As well as what they're observing happening in the U.S.
So it is the context of the new Trump executive orders, and they either have
you know, I can't specifically say that because
okay.
what I can say is that this is the kinds of stories that people are telling us. We really do focus on the service delivery, which is to
Sure.
welcome them and to help them navigate the social and legal system in order to get their claim heard. However, when we speak to them and we do the interviewing, many of them will tell us that they really are afraid of what's happening in the U.S. And they're concerned for their lives, for their safety. Many of them are you know, scheduled for deportation. Many of them have had their claims rejected. So there's a whole variety of reasons why people are making this trek. The concern that we have is that they're making it and risking their lives, risking the lives of their children, because we are starting to now see children. Just this past weekend, we had 21 people crossing the border, and there was a family, and I held a 6-month-old baby and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and these children had made the trek for 6-7 hours on frozen ground just to get to freedom.
Thank you for reminding us what's happening on the northern border as well. Rita Chahal, thank you from Manitoba, and joining me now.
All right, so that's just letting you know that Steve Bannon and his policies are having a dramatic effect. They're snatching up the primarily Hispanics, Mexicans, and people of Hispanic origin, and doing what they're doing with them. And that's on the pretty much the southern side of our border, even though it does extend up into the East Coast and into Illinois. Okay, and again, I still think it's primarily coming out of California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, for the most part, even though they are advertising Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Illinois, and New York. Okay, they advertise them. Now I wonder what those nationalities are, and I don't think that those are all Mexicans. But the people that are voluntarily deporting themselves are people primarily of African descent. At least 3 of the 5 countries that you saw earlier on the list of countries that people are coming from when they enter Canada, 3 of them were absolutely African countries, and the other 2, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, were Middle Eastern countries, or somewhere in that vicinity. But they are crossing the border to get the hell away from the possible abuse that the Trump administration appears to be fostering. So just keep your eye out, because I'm just wondering how much of an appetite Canada is going to have for the people that are coming across from our side to their side. They are taking a lot of people, Syrian refugees specifically, from the Middle East. They are going to be willing to take all of those people, and then, I don't know what the numbers are. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, but they're saying it's a lot, and if it's 10,000 people, and to me 10,000 is a lot of people, but if it's 10,000 people on top of the 50,000 people they've already taken, and they're not absolutely prepared to do so, which is this lady's job, in order to get the people that are coming across, making their claims, to get them acclimated to the Canadian culture, and just get them situated. We, based on our policies, are going to be putting a lot of strain on Canada. and that just is not right. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to keep up with this as much as I can.